Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. As you already know, my name is Keela O, and this is the Introverted Icon Show. So if you were tuned in with us last week, we went over what does it mean to be iconic. And we talked about iconic pop stars, movie stars, athletes, and business people. And we discovered that in order to be considered an icon or to be iconic, you have to be the top of the top, upper echelon, A1, the GOAT, or whatever field that you've mastered or whatever niche that you're in. And we also talked about my personal definition of what it means to be iconic and what type of legacy I want to leave in this world. So if you haven't had the chance to see that video yet, I do recommend that you go check it out. But the topic for today is we're going to be talking about why this is even called the Introverted Icon Show. So if you did not know, I'm actually extremely introverted. So let me reintroduce myself. Hi, my name is Keela O, and I'm an introvert. Okay, that wasn't very introverted of me. But I'm sure you have an idea in your mind of what the word could possibly mean. But I'm going to give you the dictionary definition anyway, because that's just how I am, and that's my business, okay? So an introvert is a person whose personality is characterized by introversion. Well, what's introversion? It's the state of being turned inward upon oneself or itself. So all in all, that just means that I'm typically reserved or a quiet person who tends to be introspective, and I enjoy time alone. And Lord knows I do. I love my alone time. And I feel the most energized and revived when I spend time by myself or when I'm in a secluded group of people. And we'll go over some misconceptions, some pros, some cons, and some ideas and some people that are introverted as well. But before we get to all of that, I want to tell you guys, when did I first discover that I was introverted? So anytime I was in middle school or high school and we had to have a group project and it was assigned, that's when it showed itself the most. So I still am working on this to this day. I'm a person that when I'm in a group setting or work has to get done in a group setting, I'm the person that decides that I'll do all the work and then I'll let everyone else just take credit for my work, okay? Because I rather not have to involve multiple people in my thought process, in my creativity, and in the way that I want to present something. Now, it could be very type A-ish, but I just thrive by doing things alone. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that I can't work in a group, but that's when I first started to identify it. So I remember doing a group project in science class and in Spanish class, and I realized that I just end up doing everything myself because it just felt natural. And outside of school and work, I've seen it show up in other areas too, like social settings. So I love getting dressed up. I like getting my makeup done, my nails done, being pretty, and getting excited about going out. But 5 to 10 minutes into the event, I'm ready to go back home. Doesn't mean that I don't want to have a good time and that I don't have a good time while I'm there, but my social battery starts to run out fairly quickly. And I just feel the most myself and the most alive when I'm by myself. So I'm going to talk about next some misconceptions that come up when people think about what an introvert is, but I'm going to talk about how all of that is not necessarily true. Alrighty, so some common misconceptions about introverts is, number one, a lot of people think that we're extremely shy or extremely antisocial and that we don't like being around people, which is not true. We actually enjoy being around people. We just have to be comfortable around you. And we don't necessarily want to be around thousands upon thousands of people. 1 or 2 is fine. You know how they say 2's company, 3's a crowd? That's what that means, okay? Another one is a lot of people, too, think that we're snobs or that we're stuck up. Again, we don't think that we're better than anyone. We just don't have anything to say, especially if we don't know you. And we're not going to volunteer to be like, hey, I'm just going to talk to you. No, we have to be comfortable with you again. And then number 3, a lot of people don't think that we have great leadership skills because of our communication styles being so different than extroverts, okay? And then the last one, people think we don't like parties, which is not true. I really like going to parties. We really like going to parties. We just don't want to be, like I said, around tons and tons of people, but we know how to have a good time. Especially if you know me, if you party with me, I definitely know how to have a good time. I'm typically the life of the party. when I'm at a party. But that's because I'm comfortable when I'm there. I enjoy music, I enjoy food, I enjoy being around people that make me feel good. But when I'm around tons and tons of people and I feel like my energy's feeling drained, then that's when the introvertedness comes into play and I'm ready to go back home so that I can be re-energized, revived, refreshed, renewed, and just soak up the goodness in my solitude. Now we're going to get into the good stuff and we're going to talk about the pros of being an introvert. Pro number 1, we have a high level of self-awareness. We know ourselves. We understand ourselves. We state ourselves in a way that extroverts just don't. They typically have people around them when they're doing these things, but we just rather do it ourselves. Pro number 2, we are excellent listeners and we are extremely empathetic. I'm just one of those people that people gravitate towards and they want to tell their deepest, darkest secrets to. But when they walk away, they feel seen, they feel heard, and they feel understood. Pro number 3, we're great leaders. We may not do it exactly like how introverts would, but we still find a way to get the job done. We rather meet with our teammates one-on-one, discover their strengths and weaknesses, and get the task done that way versus being in a circle going back and forth. Pro number 4, we're very creative. How we decide to express ourselves could be from art, poetry, music, painting. However we decide to express ourselves, we're going to find a way to do it because we have so much creativity that resides within us. Pro number 5, we develop deep and meaningful relationships. Remember, we don't like to be around tons and tons of people. So when we have a core group of people that we enjoy their company and we love them, of course, by default, we're going to what? Develop deep and meaningful connections. And I can believe without a shadow of a doubt, if you were to interview any of those people, they're going to say, because of this introverted person in my life, I've never felt so loved. I've never felt so seen. I've never felt so understood and known because of our empathy and because of our creativity. We find ways of showing that love and expressing that love in multitudes of ways. So these are the things that make introverts good. But now we're going to talk about some cons that, may turn people off from introverts every now and again. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the cons of being an introvert because nobody's perfect. So con number 1, because of our high level of self-awareness, we're also highly sensitive. My feelings get hurt every other business day. And I've learned to not take everything so personal, but when attitudes start to shift and patterns change, I start thinking to myself, maybe this person might actually hate me, which is never true. They love me, but I get in my feelings sometime and it's just a part of being an introvert. I'm highly sensitive. Con number 2, we do have social anxiety. Do we like speaking in front of people? No. Will we do it? Yes. Are we the happiest campers when we do it? No. But I've learned that the people that talk the most and the people who engage with the most people make the most money. So I learned how to get over that very quickly. Con number 3, we are awkward. If you haven't noticed by now, I'm fairly weird. In a good way. In a very good way. Not the bad weird where you're like, walk away from me quickly. No, we just don't pick up on social cues like most people would, and our humor is a little off sometimes, but we're extremely funny. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is something that may turn some people off. Con number 4, we desire approval from others. So a lot of introverts are people pleasers, high achievers, and require a lot of reassurance with a little bit of insecurity and wanting a pat on our backs and someone telling us job well done. So of course we should want to desire those things from God, but by nature we just want to hear these things from other people. And that can be a turnoff because if you keep hearing this regularly, forget if you're an introvert. If you're just hearing this from someone every single day, tell me that I'm special, tell me that I'm good, tell me that I'm great, you can only imagine how annoying that could be. So I can see how that can be a turnoff to others. Alrighty, so I'm going to tell you guys how I navigate all of this, especially in an industry that requires me to speak to people on a regular basis. So I know I haven't talked about this with you guys before, but I'm in the financial services industry and I have a team of people that work with me on a regular basis, and I have clients that I meet with on a regular basis. So first thing that I do is I create a safe space for myself and for them. Now, I don't know if I have a sign on my forehead or on my chest that says this is a safe space, but I know that every time I sit down with a teammate or a client, they always say, I feel so comfortable. So that's what I do to make my life easier as an introvert. I create a safe space and I make it so that I feel comfortable and they feel comfortable too. Second thing, after having a long day of speaking to people and meeting with people and feeling extremely drained, I set time aside to have me time, personal time. Whether it be a spa night, a movie night, dinner, I spend time with myself to get replenished, to feel revived, renewed, and refreshed to tackle the next day. Number 3, I don't allow it to stop me from working well with others. It's easy to say, like I mentioned earlier with my group project thing, to just do everything myself and not engage with anybody. But that's not healthy. And it actually now helps motivate me to want to communicate better and to, like I mentioned before, meet with people, learn them, their strengths and their weaknesses, so that we can all be on the same page to get a specific task done as a team. So I don't allow it to stop me. I let it encourage me and motivate me to want to speak more and to put myself out there more and to just be a better version of myself despite my introvertedness, okay? Number 4, it requires me to lean on God. Isn't it funny that the things that we're called to do in this life require us to get outside of our comfort zone? I think he does that intentionally, because in my own might and in my own strength, I wouldn't be able to do any of the things that I do as an introvert without God. Alrighty, so now we're going to shift gears for a second, and now we're going to talk about some successful introverts that you've probably heard of before, but you may or may not know their stories. So I recommend that if you have not heard their stories, that you go check them out, because if you want to be a successful introvert yourself, you want to see who came before you and figure out as well how they navigated their introvertedness. So number 1 is one of my favorites, Miss J.K. Rowling, Miss Harry Potter herself, and the first self-proclaimed billionaire author. Number 2 is Mr. Steven Spielberg, the director, the producer, Mr. Jurassic Park himself. Next is Dr. Seuss, Mr. One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish, Hop on Pop, Green Eggs and Ham. Next is Miss Christina Aguilera, the singer, the actor, the performer. Next is Miss Emma Watson, our Hermione Granger, if you will, from Harry Potter. I can actually tell that she's an introvert, but she did a phenomenal job with her portrayal of that character and just giving us everything that she had and then some to make that story come to life and that movie come to life. And last but not least, Mr. 44. He held one of the highest positions on earth that you could ever have. Former President, Mr. Barack Obama. And you can imagine all those speeches and campaigns and not just being president for 1 term, 2 terms. Alrighty, so I'm an introvert. Now you know the good, the bad, the ugly, the definition. You understand us a little bit better, okay? And how we're just, modern day superheroes. I don't mean to, toot my own horn and whatnot, but you know what the deal is. So I'm so glad that you took the time to tune in. Next week, we're going to be talking about 100 ways to make money in 2024, because you can't be iconic without funds. And you can be introverted, but you still got to have some funds to go with that too. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. I can't wait to see you next week. Until then, love you lots. Lemon Pops.